Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warjack if you want to call me by my in-game name, and I'm super excited to bringing you guys more Knights of the Frozen Throne cards. A decent amount were revealed yesterday on stream with Day 9 and one of the, I believe, lead designers or something like that. Some of these cards look pretty cool. Some of them actually were pretty underwhelming, and I've got a few critiques as to why they went one direction versus another, but without further ado, let's get into the first card. It's going to be the Warrior Animated Berserker, the 1 mana 1/3. After you play a minion, deal 1 damage to it. So as we know, Warrior has always been a class that benefits pretty decently off dealing damage to their own minions along with the entirety of the board. You get, Alkali to Pain. We have a lot of Enrage minions. We've got cards like Battle Rage that draws based on how many minions our hero has been damaged. So there's definitely going to be a few uses to this. The first thing that brings to mind is Grim Patron. There's been a couple memes floating around with this card and the patrons, but overall, I'm sure it'll get played. See, it's a decent card, don't get me wrong, but I feel like how cool would it have been, and like, if they would have they can change the name so it matches, but make a 1 mana legendary like Murgleton, Sir Finley Murgleton, for those of you who weren't around during that time. Make it a 1 mana 1/3 legendary. It says after a minion is played, deal 1 damage to it. I know that's really good, but the thing is, it's only really good against aggro, which right now, I don't think there's going to be any mid-range or control player, and even some aggro players might go play control because of that. And you only have one of them in the deck, and it's a legendary, so it's kind of like, you don't need it, you don't always need it, but it's good to have, and it just makes the ability so much cooler because it deals 1 damage to everything. Your opponent has to play around it. It's a great early game kind of anti-aggro card, because right now Warrior, they do okay, but there's a lot of cases at which it just kind of gets burned out through Token Shaman and Token Druid and Evolve Shaman and shit like that. So I don't know. I think it's a decent card. It'll probably fit in. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see where the meta goes. I'm sure it'll get played. Next card we're going to go is Dead Man's... Oh, gosh, I forgot to go to the Abomination. There we go. Boop. The Dead Man's Hand. Kind of unimpressed by this card. It says shuffle a copy of your hand into your deck. So this is basically only good in the early game when your hand has a decent amount of cards, but then you're paying 2 mana. You're getting rid of a card to shuffle all cards in your hand back into your deck. It's an interesting idea, but I don't think it's very good. I'd rather just run Elise, where I can just put a pack in my deck and then draw the pack. The pack is 1 card. It's already a minion. It's a 5 mana 5/5 minion, so it's already a minion. So it's not like I'm giving up a card to shuffle my hand. And then most of the time the pack gives you huge amounts of value. And who says like the cards in your hand right now are duplicates you want in your deck, It's interesting card, fits the Fatigue Warrior kind of idea and the mentality behind it. But do I think the card is really good? Not really. I think this is pretty bad. I think it's a pretty bad card and a pretty shitty epic. Very not excited about all the epics that are floating around here that do not seem fairly underwhelming. Cryostasis is another one of those cards that I just think fucking sucks for an epic. I don't know why they continue to print shitty epics. So when players open up epics, it's like there's nothing there. You opened up this epic and that wow. There's also one thing I'm gonna do here, guys. I see a little fuzz around my guy, and I want to get rid of that. So let's see if we can do this real quick. And that looks pretty good. All right. So give a minion +3/+3 and freeze it. So you can use it on your opponent. So what they were talking about during the live stream with this card is, you can freeze your own minion and give it +3/+3, and then you could give it taunt, so that, it freezing doesn't really matter, and you get stats, but it has taunt anyway. Or you could freeze your opponent's minion, and you could stop it from attacking for that turn. It's like, well, there's a mage card that already does that. It's called Freezing Potion, and it costs 0 mana. It doesn't give him stats. It freezes the whatever the fuck you want. Is that card played at all? No. So, I understand that you're trying to give Shaman freeze cards, but I don't know. I just don't get it. Maybe... Alright, I take that back. This card, in conjunction with the next card we're going to show, is good, but I still have a counterpoint against that particular guy. And we'll have to see, because if that guy is good, we'll go over him here. I'll bring him up right now. So if this guy right here is good, Cryostasis will be good. And this guy's a 6 mana 4/4. Whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. So you basically freeze a minion, or you can freeze whatever, and you get that minion. You don't get it when it's buffed. You get a copy of the minion. You don't get the stat buffs on it, because that'd be broken. So there was a card that shaman, a legendary that they had before, Mistcaller. Mistcaller was a 6 mana 4/4, and it said battle cry, give every minion in your deck +1/+1. So it gave you immediate value, cards in your hand as well, just not cards on the board. It might have done cards on the board. I actually think I think it was cards in your deck in hand. I don't know, it doesn't matter. And that card wasn't played. It was played sometimes. I tested it. It was too slow. It was a ton of value though. It was, I think, mainly because the mid-range shaman was so powerful that it didn't even need that card. But this is following the same stats line as the Mistcaller. This has conditions to be met to generate value. The other one generated value immediately. You played the card, value was generated, end of story, period. And if +1/+1 doesn't feel like it's a lot, think about it when you go against a Smuggler's Run Paladin and they play, you know, an Outfitter or one Smuggler's Run and 3 cards in their hand, and all those cards have +1/+1 now, and they play those cards. Don't those cards just, they feel really good, right? They're like, oh my god, this 2 mana is a 3/3 or a 3/4 or a 4/4. Imagine the entire opponent's deck being +1/+1, and they comboed it with Bran, it was +1/+2/+2. So I know this doesn't equal this, but in the terms of value, they both are going for value. You know, you're increasing the stats of your minion, the value of the minion increases. This gives you a minion to your hand that you actually have to spend then mana on to get another one, and who says that's a minion that you want? So, and plus you have to run shitty freeze cards to get the minions, to get the value, to get the potential minion. Like, it just, sorry guys, I don't, why? I get it, but why? Like, I need to hear your opinions. I'm either being a Debbie Downer here, and I just need to pucker up and smile, or like I'm just not understanding what's happening. The next one's really cool card. Defile, Warlock AoE, deal 1 damage to all minions. If any die, cast this again. So it's like an ongoing explosive AoE. You basically want to line up your opponent to have like 1 HP, 2 HP, 3 HP, 4 HP, so it clears the whole board. The thing is, Warlock didn't need more. It doesn't need more AoE. That's not the problem with Warlock. The problem with Warlock is it has no healing. It can't heal itself. So they have, all right, let's go over the AoE. They have Corrupting Mist, right? They have Corruption. They've got Hellfire. They've got Shadow Flame. They have Hellfire Potion. They have Twisting Nether. They have so much AoE. It's almost every 2 mana cost they have a next giant fucking AoE card. And they have Abyssal Demon, which is a Hellfire and a minion. So the Warlocks being able to clear the board, I understand the whole corruption, destroy minions, but Defile's super good. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna love playing this card because it adds a lot of skill. Like you can line up your minions to explode or have it stop, you know, where I kill my opponent's minion and I buff my minion so it lives. There's just a lot of good plays that you can make with Defile, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of cool shit come from it. And I also really enjoy the picture. It reminds me of like the aliens from Alien vs. Predator. If anybody watched, what is that movie called? It starts with a P. I'm not gonna be able to think of it. I'm gonna get it like 5 minutes later. Prometheus. And it reminds me of the black goo, and it turns into a little thing and blows out the guy's eyeball. Anyway, it's a super cool card. But again, I really want to see some Warlock healing here. Even though I'm excited for this, Warlock healing's good. So this rare is basically better than every card we went over so far, and it's just a rare. It's not an epic, it's not a legendary, it's just a rare. It's a 2 mana rare, and it fucking is awesome. The next one is the Reaver or Reveler. I'm not even gonna Sanguine Reveler. Fuck you guys, I can't read. The 1 mana 1/1 battle cry, destroy a friendly minion, gain 2/2. So definitely fits in the Zoo Warlock spot. Whether you're killing off a 1/1 token or, you know, you're killing a card with a death rattle. Will it be played? And does it fit any current decks? It's hard to say. Zoo Warlock kind of sucks right now. It's not terrible, but it's not great. It's really not great. And there's already the Paradox, I believe, in the deck. Pterodactyl, whatever the name is. The 4 mana 4/4, destroy one of your minions, adapt twice. I think that's a good route for destruction of minions. I don't think if you're going to destroy a friendly minion, 2/2 is going to be, you know, the best thing you're looking for. But, you know, you can always like drop Abusive Sergeant, and then you sacrifice Abusive Sergeant because your Abusive Sergeant used them to get +2 attack anyway, and the 1/1 body doesn't matter. So, you know, if there's a lot of cheap, if there's a cards to synergize with this, it's gonna be good. If there's not, it's not gonna be that great. So this is a card that I really wish they would have designed differently. Let me know what you guys think about this. So I like, first of all, it's a 3 mana, 3/2 Doomed Apprentice. So they took Sorcerer's Apprentice. For those of you who don't know what Sorcerer's Apprentice is, it's a 2 mana, 3/2. Your spells cost 1 less. So you basically are swapping that, and your opponent's spells cost 1 more. Super cool, like the counterplay mechanic. You know, you drop this when you know your opponent's going to go off with a bunch of spells. Or you use it because it's just an annoying card. The problem is they made this card unplayable. They made this card a piece of shit. And it has the same stats as a Sorcerer's Apprentice, but it costs 1 more, which is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And then on top of that, your opponent's spells cost 1 more. If you're like, it's not as good as your spells costing 1 less, because you know what you have in your deck and you can combo. Meanwhile, when your opponent's spells cost 1 more, you're hoping that they have spells to do that, for the effect to come through. But when you're discounting your shit, you can actively do it right there and then. You're getting the value from your card immediately. You drop this, you play your 1 mana or 2 mana card, and you're getting the benefit from this ability immediately. When you play this card, you're hoping that the opponent can't play a spell or can only play 1 spell. And if they have no spells, they're just going to curve out anyway. The spell is rendered useless. So you're paying the extra mana cost for essentially nothing. Meanwhile, the 2 mana one, you're getting the value right away. So why would you play this over Sorcerer's Apprentice, when basically with the Sorcerer's Apprentice, you're demanding your opponent to have an answer for it? Meanwhile, with this is kind of like Priest cards. It's situational, and if the situation doesn't arise, you're stuck with a card that's just blatantly worse than a different card. So what they should have done here, if they were trying to do what I think they were trying to do, make this cost 2 mana, name it Doomed Apprentice, and swap the 2 attack with the 3 attack. So it's a 2 mana, 2/3. Your opponent's spells cost 1 more. Now it's a playable card. On top of this, it could actually compete with Sorcerer's Apprentice. So you're like, all right, well, do I run Doomed Apprentice or do I run Sorcerer's Apprentice? I don't know. Both are really good cards. You know what I mean? Now, why would you play this? Why? You just play Sorcerer's Apprentice. There's no reason to play this card. They printed a cool card and they made it dog shit. And I don't fucking get it. I really don't get it. And again, guys, I could be looking at this at a wrong light, but it just annoys the shit out of me because I play this game all the time, and we know the power level of cards. It wouldn't break the game to just switch the stats and fucking do, like, we see what they're trying to do. They just did it like shit. It's like asking a fucking kindergartner to draw you an exclusive piece of legendary art. It's not gonna happen. They're gonna whip out their coloring book and a whole bunch of fucking shitty ass crayons that everybody's been eating, because that's what kindergartners do. They eat the fucking crayons. And then she's gonna draw you some shitty ass picture, but it could have been like a good picture that she tried to copy, but she made it shitty. Why would you hang the shitty picture in your house? Besides, it's, you know, your kid and you want him to feel good. No, you're always gonna hang the better picture. 2 mana, 1/3, Ice Walker, Elemental. Your hero power also freezes the target. Blizzard really pushing the freeze mechanic here, guys. So the 1 mana, 1/3 is a very common stat trend among the 1-drops. It's not very common to see a 2 mana 1/3, so normally the ability would have to make up for that. The ability to freeze a target with your hero power, I think, is pretty powerful, because it nullifies the creature. You know, for 2 mana, you're stopping a creature from doing anything. And this is an elemental. So I think this in an elemental mage deck could in fact see play, just because it could shut down a really big minion. I know this could die fairly easily, but it allows you to, how do I explain this? Like, you ping and then you can shatter. You spent 4 mana to kill a card, when right now, I don't know. Because Fireball most of the time kills shit. Polymorph transforms whatever you want. So it's like Polymorph would strictly be better than an Ice Walker, Ping, and Shatter, because Polymorph can be used whenever you want. It doesn't need Ice Walker or a Ping. And then also Polymorph gets rid of Death Rattle, right? Because it just transforms it, so it doesn't actually kill it. That's what Shatter does. So I don't know why you wouldn't just play Polymorph. I don't know. I could be looking at this wrong. Obviously, it's a decent card. I don't think it's that bad, but it's just not that overwhelming. I think they should just statted this higher. Like right now, mages don't have a great 6-drop. So why not just make this like a 6 mana 5/5 when you hero power, freeze a minion? Make it a 5/6, make it a 6/5. I don't know. 5/5. I don't fucking care. Make it cost more mana. It has a really good ability. This ability is really good. Just make it cost more mana so it doesn't die as soon as it comes out. I don't know. Eternal Servitude. 4 mana. Priest card. Discover a friendly minion that died this game. Summon it. Wow. This card's good. So, discover a friendly minion that died this game. So basically, you want to play this. This is a late game card. Unless you have like a really nice turn 4 play. Like let's say you're playing against an aggressive base deck. You have this in your hand. You drop Priest of the Feast. Priest of the Feast dies because of course they're going to kill it as soon as possible. So you don't get healing. You Eternal Servitude and you pull out a Priest of the Feast again because you probably don't even have 3 minions that have died prior to turn 4. And you basically got 2 Priests of the Feast. I'm not sure if the Priest of the Feast would actually trigger when you played this spell or not. So you play this spell, bring back Feast, and the Priest the Feast his effect will trigger from this. I don't know, but I think that's pretty good. But most of the time you're going to play this late game, you're going to play it like at 10 mana, and you're going to want to bring back something with 8 mana, and then for the remaining 6 mana, you're going to like heal and summon a 4-drop, or you're going to do some form of AoE before this card, so like AoE, like Dragonfire Potion, Servitude, and then you bring back, you know, an 8 mana card that died because you can like free from Amber, and the card you got free from Amber will count as a death tool. The only thing is, if you play a whole bunch of small minions, like Northshire Clerics, Netherspite Historian, and like Talon Priest, you could get like a bad pick from there. But I think most of the time this will be like, maybe, I want to say it's a one of, just because having 2 of them, this isn't something you play on turn 4. This is a late game card, which means it's a dead card if you draw it early on. And right now, Priest's main thing is just surviving the early game. Once the Priest makes it past the early game and heading towards, you know, the middle game or towards the end control portion of the match, like Priests do fine. Like that's one of the classes you need to worry about because of all the, you know, value generation they have. Their healing mechanic is insane because they just start healing themselves, and you know, you just slowly but surely see their life points get higher, your cards in your hand get lower, and the cards in their hand get higher. So definitely I think like a 1 of in any Control Priest, maybe a 2 of if Control Priest gets a really, really good early game card that you'd want to bring back. It all depends. All right, so the next card we're going to talk about is the Paladin card, the 3 mana 2/2 Battle Cry. Draw a Divine Shield minion from your deck. So hello Tyrion on call. So again, the whole Divine Shield mechanic seems to be something they're pushing really hard. This is the stat line I like to see. You're paying 3 mana for a 2/2. It's not even completely understated. It's obviously understated, not by a whole bunch, but its ability draws you a Divine Shield minion from your deck that not only synergizes with probably your entire deck, because if you're running a Divine Shield minion draw card, you're probably running a Divine Shield minion-ish deck, which means you're going to draw Tyrion, you know, you're going to draw the new Bolivar, or you're just going to get a good card. Like, you're paying 3 mana to draw a fantastic card most of the time. You shouldn't have a stat line minion that's really fucking highly statted on top of drawing in a completely broken minion, because that's just no. They need to have shitty minions that draw good cards, and then, you know, you can make up for it because they played a shitty minion 1 turn, so that gives you kind of 1 turn to react or prep for the big minion they're going to play. So I like the stats on this minion. I like that they didn't make it like a 3 mana 3/4. Like, that would have been so fucking dumb. So I have no complaints about this card. It's going to be really good. I have a feeling this card is going to be really, really good. If Divine Shield Paladin is good, this card will be good, and I think Divine Shield Paladin will be good. The next card is going to be a rogue card, Shadowblade, the 3 mana 3/2 Battlecry. Your hero is immune this turn. I think this is a good card as well. Rogues, you know, one of the things, just like Warlocks, they lack healing. So lifesteal has been a really big kind of push factor for them this expansion, to give it to the classes that need healing the most. I know this doesn't have the words lifesteal on it, but Battlecry, your hero is immune this turn, is basically not lifesteal, but you're mitigating damage when normally you would take however much. So, you know, you play Shadowblade and you can attack this card into an 8/8 and you take no damage, right? So now we just gotta somehow give rogues the ability to attack twice, right? You know, get a little. I'm gonna have to edit that out. There's gonna be a clip there. What the fuck? Anyway, so Shadowblade, good card. Yeah, that's about it. So heading to the next one, Spreading Plague. This is another one I have kind of a problem with. It's a good card, don't get me wrong. It's a 5 mana, summon a 1/5 Scarab with Taunt. If your opponent has more minions cast this again. So basically, your opponent has 3 minions, you have none, you Spreading Plague, and you basically get 3 locusts. And they all have 1/5, so you basically get a 3/15 taunt for your opponent to get through. So this is really, really good against aggressive base deck. Right now, Druid has a really hard time with dealing with aggressive base decks. Their turn 5 is most likely Nourish or something like that. So this allows them to do something active on the board instead of drawing cards with Nourish or going for mana with Nourish. So I think this will probably, I don't know, maybe it'll be a one of if aggro's there. If it's a very mid-range to control like meta, maybe we won't see this at all. I think 5 HP is a lot to deal with for the most part. And the fact that you can Spreading Plague and then buff those minions, you know, you Spreading Plague, your opponent decides it doesn't want to attack because the 1/5s are annoying or they only can kill one of them and there's 4 of them on the board. All of a sudden you Savage Roar, you Power the Wild, you just do anything that buffs the board and all these things, and all of a sudden these Scarabs are huge. My only problem with this card is the animation. Like, the animation is spiders. Like, when it plays, when the locust pops up, spiders come out of it. Why are spiders coming out when it's a locust thing? It should be locusts. It says, or scarabs, I'm sorry. Not locusts, scarabs. I'm gonna get yelled at in the YouTube comment. Rob, it's not locusts, it's scarabs. Please wait till this part. It happened in the last video too. I said like 2 instead of, or I said 1 instead of 2. Literally 30, like 20, not even 20, 10 seconds later, I fixed myself. There was like 3 comments of people telling me I was wrong. It's like, you pay attention. Anyway, like it says scarab, but like spiders come out. That's the only problem I had with this card. I didn't understand their whole visual design team on that. We're gonna do scarabs. It's gonna be a scaraby kind of card. What is it gonna picture? Spiders. Spiders are coming out. The next one's gonna be Venom Strike Trap. The 2 mana Hunter Secret. This is very common. All Hunter Secrets are 2 mana, so no surprise there. And then one of your minions is attacked. Summon a 2/3 Poisonous Cobra. Whether I'm pretty sure it's not going to direct the attack to the Cobra. I just think it's when it's attacked, the Cobra is going to get summoned. The Cobra is a pretty annoying card to deal with. There's Emperor Cobra currently costs 3 mana right now, and it's a 2/3 with Poisonous. So you're basically paying 1 less mana for that card, but it has to trigger through your opponent's attacking one of your minions. So this works out the best when you have like a cheap, like, you know, you start off with a, you know, 1 mana beast that summons another beast, the alley cat. You drop this, they try to kill an alley cat, and it summons this, the alley cat dies, and now you've tempoed out a 2/3, and you only paid 2 mana for it, and then you play your, you know, animal companion, and you've got 3 minions on the board, and you've got a poisonous card that needs to be dealt with a spell. Your opponent deals with the spell, but now they have to deal with the animal companion minion. You just keep getting on the board, keep putting in the chip damage, and then by turn 6 or 7, when you drop 7 high mana, it's too much for them to handle. On top of that, hunters haven't gotten a decent secret in a while. This doesn't seem like a bad secret. It's not a great secret, but, you know, when hunters have, I don't even know how many secrets they have now. They have to have like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 secrets. It's going to be really hard to play around them, especially with the new Professor Putricide card coming out. And if, you know, your opponent plays 2 secrets and now they have 4 secrets on the board, it's just like, holy shit, what do I play around? Freezing Trap, Explosive Trap, Bear Trap, Snake Trap, Venom Snake Trap, Dark Trap, fucking Hidden Catchy or whatever it's called. It's just like, it's going to be ridiculous right now. So it'll be... Misdirection. Like, holy shit, it's gonna be wild. All right, so the next card is going to be Prince Valinar. All right, so if we remember in Ice Crown, there was the 3 princes we had to beat. It was a pretty, it was a decent boss fight. I didn't mind it. It took a lot of raid mechanics and making sure the orbs didn't hit the ground so nobody took too much damage. But he's a 4-mana 4/4 battlecry. If your deck has no 4-cost minions, gain lifesteal and taunt. These cards, in my opinion, all suck. They all suck. They're all horrible. There's the 2 mana, can't have it. Like, so if you want to run all the princes, you can't have any 2 mana cards in your deck besides the prince. 3 mana cards in the deck besides the prince, and 4 mana cards inside the prince, and all of their abilities are lackluster. This having lifesteal and taunt as a 4/4, who the fuck cares? I don't get it. Like, I'm not gonna have any 2 mana, 3 mana, or 4 mana cards. I'm just gonna run 3 princes. I don't fucking know, man. It just seems really, really dumb. So maybe you can like play this in wild, and then like you can run Reno. So you buy, you know, by turn 6 you're getting your ass kicked, and you drop Reno, and then maybe it'll make it better, and then you can play these slightly overstated minions that have like huge amounts of drawback. But I don't know. I'm so like, again, legendary minion sucks. Why? Legendary minions need to be good. I don't think the legendary minions need to be good in every single deck because that's not cool. I don't like autofill slots for deck. I don't like having to play particular cards in certain decks, or it's just strictly worse. Like Fireball and Frostbolt and Mage. You have to play those cards. If you don't, your deck is solely worse than someone's whose is. And as good as those cards are, and as much as they fit the Mage thing, it just stinks that you have cards like that. You cannot build a Druid without Swipe or Wrath. Like, it just doesn't work. And sometimes, like, Magic the Gathering doesn't have those kinds of rules. Sometimes it does, but most of the time, like, there's the cards that are staples aren't 15 to 20 cards of the deck, and every single deck of that nature has those cards. Like, every Druid's gonna have Swipe, Nourish, Wrath, like, besides, I guess, Aggro Druid or Token, I don't know. You know what I mean, though. Our next card's going to be the Snow Flipper Penguin, a 0 mana 1/1 beast. I don't even know why I included this in the slideshow. It's just a card that got revealed. Obviously, it's a Wisp with a beast tag on it. But somehow in the card reveal yesterday, day 9, and the other director talked about this card for like 5 minutes. I had no idea that there's so much they could say about this card. They actually talked about this card for like 5 minutes, and like he was trying to make it sound good or something. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. I was playing a game and I looked over and I'm like, all right, they're talking about this shitty card. Kept playing on stream. I looked over like 5 minutes later and I'm like, they're still talking about this shitty fucking card. You know, the whole chat's freaking out. So yeah, we're not gonna talk about him. It's just Snowflip Penguin. He's the I guess he makes, what is it, Ram Wrangler worse, because now there's a 0 mana 1/1 beast it can pull, as long as all the other shitty 1 and 2 mana beasts that are out there. So with that, that's gonna wrap up our part 3 card reveal. I'm excited to bring you part 4. Hopefully we can see some more exciting cards. Overall, we've seen quite a few interesting cards. I want to start seeing more of the Death Knight cards that are coming out when you change your hero. The Mage one is gonna be really cool. They actually did exactly what I believe I mentioned in our part 1, where their hero power does 1 damage, but if it kills a minion, it summons a water elemental, which is fucking crazy. I think that's near to almost exactly what I thought it was, but we didn't know at the time. So I'm still waiting for the freezing totem for Shaman. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Of course, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this particular video and all the cards that we talked about today. And as always, I'm Rubber Warshak, and happy whatever the hell day it is.